Here are 9 things that could happen if Trump builds the wall. Number 9. The wall becomes a tourist attraction. According to Donald Trump, the wall will be at least 35 feet tall and 2,000 miles long. That's not nearly as long as the Great Wall of China, which is 13,000 miles, but it would be higher. The Great Wall was only 26 feet tall at its highest points, a good 10 feet shorter than the Trump Wall, and still, it's one of the great tourist attractions of China. Another popular wall-turned attraction was the Berlin Wall, which was around 12 feet tall and ran about 66 miles. Anytime you build something so massive, people are going to want to get a look at it. 2 things that make the Berlin Wall and the Great Wall of China better tourist attractions are their accessibility. You can walk on the Great Wall, and West Berliners could walk right up to the Berlin Wall and paint on it. That might not be the case for the Trump Wall. Americans may be able to get close, but they sure won't get to walk on it. Although, with the cost of maintaining the wall, Customs and Border Protection may start offering paid tours. In areas like Tijuana, the wall will go through urban areas. Right now, there is an ugly corrugated metal wall, but a shiny concrete wall might get the kind of artists that decorated the Berlin Wall. Maybe on both sides. Number 8. The wall goes way over budget. Trump estimated that the wall would cost anywhere between $4 billion to $12 billion. The numbers keep changing. Well, the wall will be 35 feet high and 2,000 miles long. Building experts estimate $10 billion for the concrete panels, $5 billion for steel columns to hold the panels, including labor, and another $1 billion for concrete footings and foundation. That's $16 billion before taking transportation costs into account. You also have to build new roads to accommodate trucks hauling concrete and steel to remote desert areas. Let's say that costs $2 billion. Now add 30% for the management costs, engineering, and design. That makes $23.4 billion if everything goes according to budget. Now, when's the last time any major government project came anywhere near the budget? And that's just building the wall. It also has to be maintained. The Congressional Budget Office estimates the cost of maintaining the wall would exceed the building costs in 7 years. Oh, and you have to staff it. Even with only 1 person per mile, that takes 2,000 officers per shift. All federal workers with pensions and everything. Whew. Number 7. The wall only stops half. What do we mean when we say it only stops half? Around half of the people that are in the United States illegally came into the country through an airport or official border crossing. All perfectly legal. They just didn't leave when their 30 days visa ran out. A wall won't stop these people. Obviously, there's no guarantee that a wall would stop every illegal person coming from Mexico either. During the Cold War, over 1,200 people directly escaped East Germany every year despite a massive wall, shoot-to-kill orders, and a secret service system keeping tabs on everybody and their dog. People are pretty ingenious, and if there's a will, there's a way. The sheer length of the U.S. border will make it hard to control the entire stretch, and you can take a short boat trip around either end. And there are always tunnels. Israel, another wall-building nation, has detected at least 30 tunnels under walls in its Gaza Strip. Some of the tunnels have been miles long, 60 feet underground, and big enough to ride a motorcycle through. Hey, there may be job openings for Palestinian tunnel diggers in Mexico. Number 6. The wall causes environmental damage. The Rio Grande River forms the border between Mexico and Texas. The rest of the border runs over mountains and through New Mexico and Arizona, and even a city in California. You can't build a wall in a river or even right next to one because of erosion and shifting soil. So you have to move it away from the border, like a lot of the border fences are now. An actual wall would stop water from draining into the river, which would cause floods along the wall when it rains and start drying up the river. Animals such as pronghorns and jaguars that move back and forth to use the river would be forced to come up with different migration patterns. When President George W. Bush put up fencing along much of the border, Homeland Security had to override over 30 environmental protection statutes to get the job done, including the Endangered Species Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act. And that was just for a fence. Number 5. The wall makes smugglers rich. Just like the best thing you can do for drug cartels is make drugs harder to get and drive up prices, a wall will have the same effect on people smugglers, the coyotes as they're called, who take money to guide people across the border. As crossing gets more complex, professionals get more clients. Coyotes and drug cartels that profit from desperate would-be migrants are already using the wall as a marketing tool, urging people to act now before it's too late. And it's working. Prices are up and still going up, and attempts to cross increased dramatically since the election results of 2016. But the Coyotes know they'll still have a business after the wall goes up. They'll just be able to charge more. But of course, they'll have to figure out new ways to get around the wall. Number 4, illegal aliens build the wall. President Trump should call the Golden State Fence Company in Riverside, California. That company won a contract to build fences on the U.S.-Mexico border in 2001 and employed 750 employees at one point. They had to change their name from FenceWorks after they were busted several times for hiring illegal immigrants to build fences to keep out illegal immigrants. Why do companies in that part of the world hire so many illegal immigrants? Simple. They work for less and they're available. The U.S. is going to have a hard time getting enough people to work in the remote places where the wall will go up. Most Americans don't want to relocate to a labor camp in the desert and slave in the hot sun for minimum wage, which is exactly what illegal immigrants are used to doing. Number 3, the wall helps the Mexican economy. One of the companies that may really profit from the wall is Cemex. Cemex is a Mexican cement company, the largest in North and South America, with operations on both sides of the border. Cemex's share price jumped 2.6% in one day, and its stock is up 18% since news of the wall came out. They and their workers stand to make a lot of money on the wall construction since no American company is near their size and wouldn't be able to provide enough material in the time needed to build the wall. Grupo Cementos Chihuahua, another Mexican construction company, is putting in bids to build the wall and looks to be very competitive. Already, 70% of their business is with U.S. construction projects. Other businesses that stand to profit are naturally the people smugglers, spray paint sellers, ladder makers, and dirt mover companies. Number 2, Mexico doesn't pay for the wall. President Trump has promised that Mexico will pay for the wall. His plan is to tell Mexico to pay for the wall, and if they don't, he's going to put a tax on money that Mexican workers in the U.S. send back to their families in Mexico. Or he's going to raise tariffs on goods coming from Mexico into the United States. He says that the U.S. imports more from Mexico than they export, so that would be a good way to balance that out. Taxing money from Mexican workers and exports means taking money from individual people and businesses and not actually getting the Mexican government to pay for the wall, although they'll ultimately feel the loss. But Trump also seems to suggest that Mexico would pay for the wall straight up just to avoid those actions that he's threatening to do. That's not too likely. Mexico has political parties that can't stand each other, just like the United States, but one thing they do agree on is that there is no way they're going to pay for a U.S. wall. It would be political suicide for any leader in Mexico to agree to such a setup. What about raising border tariffs and stripping away money from workers? First of all, Trump can't raise border tariffs. He has to ask Congress to do that. Would they? Food prices would go up a lot. And if there's one thing Americans agree on, it's that they like to eat cheap food. Congress might not want to go on record for jacking up food prices. Plus, a lot of agriculture in Mexico is owned in part by American farm co-ops who would lose out if higher tariffs went into effect. Those lobby groups have congressmen on their speed dials, and they will be calling. Now, the other point about taking away money sent home to Mexico, most of those payments are made through Western Union. But more and more are starting to go through Bitcoin and other digital currencies. Not only is it cheaper to send money that way, it's also faster and would be almost impossible for the U.S. government to block. There's even a service that lets you send money directly to ATMs in Mexico where family members can get it in pesos. This trend will only accelerate if the U.S. puts fees in place. If the fees were actually successful in siphoning off money, Mexican workers, many of them legal, might just go home, which would be a huge blow to the American agriculture, which is completely dependent on Mexican labor. Uh-oh, food just got even more expensive. Number 1, the wall never gets finished. Right now, President Trump is pushing the wall, but big projects like that take time to get started. There'll be an awful lot of planning involved, contracts to drop, roads to build, people to hire, and so on. Bottom line, it's going to take a while to get started and quite a while to finish. It took over 30 years to complete the first coast-to-coast interstate highway, I-80 from California to New Jersey, and that was flat. Of course, if the wall is a top priority, it will go faster, but it won't get finished in 4 years. If Trump can stay in office that long, he better get reelected, or whoever comes in after him will likely put the kibosh on the wall. that would leave an interesting half-completed ruin like a pyramid standing in the desert, although nowhere near as amazing. Here's what's next.
Trump accused and insulted his opponents of everything under the sun, often touting Bill Clinton's sexual escapades as a reason to not vote for Hillary. However, he got a taste of his own medicine when many women came forward stating that he made unwanted sexual advances on them, and in some cases, assaulted them.